Welcome to the Harrises. We got current NFL star Shelby Harris, and we've got Chris Harris Jr., perennial Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion, alongside myself, Ryan Harris. Well, fellas, let's get started with the Broncos beating the Kansas City Chiefs 20-13 in a late drive touchdown by the Broncos, setting them apart, and then they win the AFC West while sitting on the couch. What do you make of the Broncos winning the AFC West and looking like the top team in the AFC?
Yeah, it was an ugly game, but the Broncos was able to close out the game. They was going against a quarterback that wasn't very that couldn't throw the ball. He wasn't a pocket passer, but he was a great scrambler. So, but they didn't have any fear that he could beat them with their arms, and it was good for the Broncos to win the AFC West, going on a drought for 10 years. Haven't won since 2015, and the Chiefs been dominating over the past decade. So it felt great to finally knock those boys off.
That Denver game, the only issue I really had with it was they didn't dominate it the way they needed to. I get it. You're playing a third string quarterback that has really no NFL film, so you don't really want to give them too many opportunities to bust it open. But the issue is you just opened it up to the rest of the AFC that nobody is necessarily afraid of the Denver Broncos. Everybody believes that they can be beat, and it's because of the performances they put up against subpar teams with injuries. Now, I do believe in this Denver Bronco team, but they're going to have to be more consistent. They're going to have to do better at imposing their will on these other teams. But it's open now. You see everybody else, it's blood in the water. They see this team right there that is not necessarily that powerhouse number one team. So you're going to have people coming after you the whole playoffs, and that's going to be scary.
Well, and it hurts the Broncos that so many other teams in the AFC did well, right? I mean, even the Bills losing on that last second 2-point conversion, right? They were right there. So for me, though, the Broncos did dominate in one time at one point in the game, the fourth quarter, 14-play drive to win the game, right? And to your point, Shelby, you got to get that earlier in the game. That's got to be quarter one, and then again in quarter two, and then one more in quarter. You need those long, sustained scoring drives, but you're right. Nobody's afraid of the Broncos anymore. And part of that is because they're not playing the same at the same physicality as they were. But the other part, that's what happens this time of year. If you're lucky enough to earn your way to the playoffs, you're not afraid of anybody anymore, especially when you see on film that they're struggling against a backup quarterback. So I believe in the Broncos too. And I know from being in the playoffs that it's going to get harder and harder to win, and you have to be consistent. And it doesn't start in the fourth quarter, starts in that first and second quarter.
Well, Denver has to really figure out their identity. Who are they going to be throughout this whole playoffs? Because right now it's so dynamic, it changes so much that they don't really know who they are right now. And they're trying to find themselves. They got to go into this playoffs and figure out who they are and stick to it. That's how you're going to have success in the playoffs. You can't just kind of be a passing team, kind of be a running team. What is your identity? And they gotta really commit to that.
I think that's going to help them, though, getting that bye week, too. I mean, they look like a tired team. Once you start missing one-on-one tackles, I mean, you guys play defense. You tell me, you're good at one-on-one tackling all year, and then towards the end of the year start slipping. Is that exhaustion? Is that focus on details? What makes that difference?
Yeah, it's just locking in on to your details and fundamentals, especially at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, you practice so much individual. You do so much drill work that as the end comes, everybody knows in the NFL, what do? You do less practice time on the field, less individual. So you got to do some more stuff yourself to be able to keep yourself fundamentally and technically sound throughout that whole season. And a lot of guys slip through the cracks and fall off at the end, and that's something that you got to stay on point as the season goes, so your fundamentals and your technique doesn't slip. And you can definitely see it slipping with a couple of guys, and that this is a time period where you need to be. I used to always play better as the season goes, and that was just because of my training, and I always contribute that to the off season. But a lot of guys don't finish strong like that, and but that's what the Broncos are going to need to do. To be able to get over that hump. A lot of these guys, it's their second time going into the playoffs, so they'll have a little bit more experience. But being at home is what's going to help them. I'm telling you, it's hard to go to Denver in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They got to win this game. This is a huge game because like you said, it won't be pretty if they got to go on the road. Round one, so we don't want that to happen. So they got to win this game for sure to go into the playoffs, having some good momentum.
And they have no question they have to win this game, especially with the Chargers already pretty much saying, "Hey, you can have this. We're trying to get ready for the playoffs." So the Denver Broncos need to go in there and dominate this game like how they have before because they're fighting for that number 1 seed still. It's not set yet. They need to win this still. And so they have everything to play for still. And they need to go out there and play like that on Sunday.
Well, and congratulations to Broncos country. You get a home playoff game, at least one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether or not they win, those are fun, especially for Broncos country. I've been in the stadium during the playoffs. There's nothing like it in the NFL. Well, let's go to second down, fellas. And we got the rest of the AFC pretty interesting still. Shelby, you guys beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, really kind of whooped them now. What happened in that game?
I will say this, and Miles has said this comment before, and I'm going to reemphasize this. And this is really what it felt like. You know, if anyone in Pittsburgh wants to debate or even have a comment about it, I would love to hear it. They were more worried about Myles Garrett getting the sack record than winning that game.
Wow.
The offense, the way they set it up, they were trying to get rid of the ball. The O-line, the whole game was saying, "You're not going to get it on me." Everyone in that game was more worried about Myles' sack record than them winning that game, and that's why they're in a Week 17 battle with the Baltimore Ravens to try to figure out who's going to win the division because you didn't take this game seriously because you were more worried about a record. Now, is it because their own TJ Watt has the record too and they wanted to hold it for him?
Ooh.
Or is it because all the history with Myles and the Steelers? Who will know? But all I do know is they did not go into that game with a real game plan on trying to win. It was trying to, and the stats show it. The quickest the ball has been thrown by Aaron Rodgers this whole year, by far. You know what I mean? The offense, it wasn't even any attempt at developing routes down the field. It was just hike, throw it, or run the ball. And so now they got to win or go home against the Ravens in a situation where you might have a Lamar Jackson coming back and Derrick Henry's hot. That whole team is starting to kind of catch fire. My boy Draymond Jones is rushing his ass off on the edge. That's a team I necessarily don't want to go a win or go home situation with. So they didn't handle business against us, and now they got to go out there against a surging Ravens team that has everything to fight for. So if you ask me, it was a complete failure for Pittsburgh Steelers this week.
Well, you're bringing up some conspiracy points that are pretty compelling, right? I mean, TJ Watt does have the sack record. Myles Garrett has terrorized the Steelers since he's been around. And let's add one more thing. Remember now, I believe let's just say this. I think that those points are compelling. You know, I think there's a lot that goes into it. Now, being at the Steelers, I can't believe they didn't want to win the game, but you were on the field. And one thing about the NFL, tape does not lie. And that was a strange game plan. And like you said, the ball got out quick. And I think that was the trap there. The trap was the focus on Myles Garrett and not sealing up the division. And you're absolutely right.
It was definitely a trap game for them. And just watching the game, it was a good game. You know, I thought the defense, both sides played tough. Shador, he just had one really bad play, I think, on the interception. That was a bad play. But other than that, he came out good. I think what hurt him was his number one receiver got hurt. And he already has below average receivers. You know, if I played the Browns, I wouldn't be scared of it. Too many guys on your team, other than probably the running back 22, because he has that home run ability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he doesn't really have a lot of weapons. So I give Shador a B+. You know, being able to still hold it down, get the win as a quarterback. Defense played good. The last 4 weeks, y'all haven't been stopping the run at all. So y'all did this week, and was able to get back onto it. Back on track, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking throwing at Denzel Ward the last 3 times in the game when he did have another guy open down the middle, but he just didn't look at him, you know, and he just tried Denzel 3 times in a row, the best corner on the team, and it really made no sense. So I got the Ravens winning. If the Steelers are gonna be that dumb, then I don't think they're gonna be able to beat Harbaugh. I think the Ravens finally get it. They're gonna give the ball to Derrick Henry and these 30 touches. Whether Lamar's there or not, you still got to ride with him. So I'm gonna go with the Ravens winning this week. I never trusted in Aaron Rodgers the whole season. So, but without no DK, no weapons, I'm a ride with the Ravens.
Well, with the Steelers pretty much having the upper hand, the last two games, just needing to win one to clinch the division. If they don't win it, is there going to be any blowback for this? Is there going to be anyone held accountable for the fact that they had an opportunity to clinch the division 2 times and they didn't against division foes? So what's the blowback going to be for that?
Well, Tomlin's already, people are asking about Tomlin's job already. And the man's only been in first place, right, for most of the season. But I think what's hurting Tomlin, and especially if they don't beat the Ravens, which I think they will, I hope they will, but if they don't, the problem for me with Tomlin and the Steelers is that there's no plan after Aaron Rodgers, right? Mason Rudolph's not inspiring people that he's going to be the next quarterback. You don't have a plan there. And I think if he had something like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, it'd be a little bit of a different story. But I think I know that's a proud franchise in the Steelers. They still are focused on winning their 7th Super Bowl this year, right? But if it doesn't happen, I don't know if Coach Tomlin is going to be able to keep that job.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, especially if they don't make the playoffs and having a lead in this bad division with Burrow being out, Lamar being out. You expect him to win this division, but who would want to go in Pittsburgh and take Mike Tomlin's job? Like I'm just thinking of all the coaches that are out there. Like they're saying Vance Joseph is one of the top guys, out there, and if they fire Tomlin, like who would fit that mold? Like as a Steeler coach, I can't really see it. Like it's hard to backdoor him, and then knowing that he'll probably be picked up whether this year or the next year. He won't be a free agent long as a head coach. So, but if they don't make the playoffs, I see him moving on and starting, get some fresh air, being able to start his own, build up his own program somewhere else. But if I'm the Steelers, I wouldn't take him for granted because we've been in this league and it's not a lot of good coaches. Just being real, there's not a lot. So when you finally have one, you got to keep it.
Oh yeah.
I'll say one thing just in that who would take his job. I thought it was interesting, fellas. Notre Dame's playing Pitt. There's John Gruden on the sideline. What's he doing? Walking, talking to both teams, And if you're looking for a guy to replace him, and I'm big on giving people a path back, right? And nobody condones John Gruden himself what he said, but I thought it was interesting that he was there in Pittsburgh saying hello on the sidelines. And if you talk about a guy who could step into those big shoes, if they are, if they move on, if the Steelers move on from Mike Tomlin, I think John Gruden would be candidate number 1 there.
I don't think anyone could imagine Pittsburgh without Bill Cowher, and now no one can imagine Pittsburgh without Mike Tomlin. Pittsburgh will be fine, but I definitely believe that coaches like Mike Tomlin don't come around all the time. The grass is not always greener. And I think that's the biggest thing you think about in the NFL now. The grass is not always greener on the other side. But now we go to third down. The NFC is a hot topic right now. You got the NFC West going crazy. The Seahawks, the Rams, everybody's out there really doing their thing. You got the Bears of the NFC North that's really, really, I think, surprised a lot of people. They look like a legitimate playoff team. Guys, what are we seeing in this NFC, and who's the top team?
Well, to me, the top team is still the Rams. Even though they've had a couple losses lately, they don't have Devontae Adams. That's not the same team, right? That's not the same team, and Devontae Adams is going to come back with as healthy of a hamstring as he can. But I get to call the game Saturday with the Seahawks at the Niners, and to me, the winner of that one, that's going to determine who wins who's the number 1 seed in the NFC, but also that's going to tell you a lot because both teams are firing hard. And as you mentioned with the Bears, the thing that blows my mind, I was so wrong on Caleb Williams. This man has grown up so much. And I look at the play they had when he did the fake snap count and then threw a touchdown, right? I mean, that's That's the kind of stuff that Aaron Rodgers does. That's the elite quarterback play. And Caleb Williams is playing in the speed of the game in a way that he hasn't all year, his entire career. So I'm thrilled for the Bears fans. The NFC is the most competitive. And then, of course, you got the AFC South dragging the bottom coming on up. We don't know what's coming in there, but that is the bottom feeder of all divisions in the NFL. But, man, it's a fun time to be an NFC fan.
Yeah, 2 major games, the Bucks, Panthers. It's like that every year, it seems like. It always happens. Every year it always comes down to who's going to win this last game. And the Bucks have been able to do it the last, couple years. So it's going to be hard to not choose them, even though I like the Panthers defense. J.C. Horn, Jackson, their secondary. What's the big dude in the middle? Brown, is that his name?
I think so.
Last name Brown. He's a monster in the middle. It's just sometimes they surprise you. Sometimes the Panthers play good, then the next week they just look trash. Then they'll go beat the Packers. Then didn't they beat Seattle? They just lost to Seattle last week, but they always play good teams pretty solid, and then next week they just play terrible. So they're up and down team. The 49ers, I think their offense right now is elite. Purdy's playing at elite play right now. Jennings, I can't believe it. Ever since Shelby called him out, this dude has been balling. Hey. I don't know what the hell. Like, when I was playing, Jennings was a blocker. He was a guy that did the dirty work. He was a, in the run zone scheme, you got to have solid blockers from the receivers. That's what Jennings' role is. Now this guy's he's like the number one receiver without Debo and Ayuk not there. But my best team, I got to go with Seattle. Just by their defense, I got to go with the best defense. When I look at Seattle's secondary, they're like 6'2" above at every position. 6'3" safety, 6'4" safety. And their D-line is coming. I like their linebackers. So, I might have to go with the best defense. And I think right now Seattle's defense is just tough, man, all the way around.
Man, we keep talking about all these teams in NFC West, but did we forget about the Philadelphia Eagles?
Woo!
Did we forget about the defending champions?
No, they're still there. They're still there.
They're still there, and they're still kicking. And they just beat a Bills team that is right up there with some of the top teams in the AFC. So even though this Eagles team has not lived up to the expectations that everybody gave them before the season, they're still primed to make a playoff run. You know why? Because they can run the ball. And that their only issues they run into is when they decide to stop running the ball. But when they run the ball, everything works out fine. But in the playoffs, this Philadelphia Eagles team is going to have to lean on Jalen Hurts a little bit more, and he's going to have to produce. You can't have a game where you don't complete a pass in the second half.
Hello.
You're going to have to play better football from the quarterback position. So I'm just saying, don't forget about this Philadelphia Eagles team, but I'm just saying that Seattle Seahawks team, I love everything about that team. I'm just worried about Sam Darnold and what we saw in the playoffs last year from him. Sam Darnold has a tendency to kind of fall apart in the big game. So we will see how this handles throughout the playoffs because he does have a defense to rely on. He does have a run game to rely on. But we got to see how Sam Darnold does in this. So the whole playoff landscape is really, for me, determined on how Sam Darnold plays because if they have that team right there and Sam Darnold's playing like good football, you don't have to worry about it. I think that Seattle team might actually be the favorite.
I'm with you there. Well, let's move to fourth down and talk about the MVP race. It's heating up now because Matthew Stafford hasn't played perfect down the stretch. Drake May keeps winning. Who's your MVP, boys, as we wrap up the show?
You got to go Drake May now. Matt Stafford kind of gave it away the last 2 weeks, man. Now you can't go Monday Night Football, Week 16, throw 3 interceptions and lose against the Atlanta Falcons team and expect to still be the front runner for MVP. Drake May has done nothing but propel his team to either a 1 or 2 seed in the AFC. That right there speaks for itself, especially with a team that nobody expected anything from. And we can say all you want to about the New England Patriots, but you could say nobody expected anything from them when the season started. They struggled last year. Everyone thought they had all these holes on their team. Mike Vrabel just went in there and did a hell of a job. The probable coach of the year You know, it's just that New England team from last year to this year it's just you wouldn't even know they were the same team. So that's all. A lot of has to do with Drake May and what he has done and the way he has played. So I got to give it to Drake May this time because of just really him and what the overall team has done.
Yeah, it's hard to give it to Stafford. He didn't finish strong, and really didn't look like the MVP, you know.
Mhm.
And Drake May is just balling, you know. And the Patriots are putting up numbers. He just threw 5 touchdowns past week. You know, it's hard for me to give it to a guy that in his second year in the NFL.
Mhm.
That's my only thing. I haven't seen it. Y'all, we got to go in the history books. Maybe Dave would be able to find us the stats on how many second year MVPs out there in the NFL. You know, I can't remember too many. And for him to get that, that's a major accomplishment. Salute to Mike Vrabel. Really, it comes down to Josh McDaniels also, right? Being able to have one of the top offensive coordinators, a guy that's seen all the great defenses, you know, and has great experience play calling to be able to walk this guy along. You know, imagine being able to have Brady's OC with you at the beginning of your career, and he's he's going to be there probably for a long time because this guy sucks as a head coach, right? So, Drake May is in a perfect setup. He balled out this year, and you just got to give him credit, man. He's a guy that second year and put the team on the back. I always wanted Bo Nix to play better than them just because of the rivalry and drafting. But hey, this guy balled, and the only thing you can say is he can make all the throws. He can scramble and be a little bit mobile. He throws to everybody, right? Everybody gets to eat. So, I mean, I like it, man. Drake May for the MVP.
I want Caleb Williams for the MVP, man. And I'm with you, Chris. Second year quarterback, it's tough because do it 3-4 more times. But if you're going to talk about Drake May, how can you not talk about Caleb Williams? He's got his team in the exact same spot, playing well. And if you look how they turn around everything that happened in such a short amount of time, he lost a coach, a coordinator, and he's balling. So for the same reasons Drake May is an MVP, to me, you got to talk about Caleb Williams there. And if I had $1, that's what I would put it on. I don't even know the odds, but to me, Caleb Williams, what he's done with that Bears franchise in a short amount of time, similar to Drake May and similar to Matthew Stafford just this year, you got to talk about him.
And that's
it. The list too. Right here, 2-year guys: Jim Brown, Jim Nance, Earl Campbell, Dan Marino, Kurt Warner, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. So it's happened recently. So
Drake May, I don't think Drake May's in that same list. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I could be wrong. Hey, happy for him either way. Go ahead, Shelby. Wrap it up.
But we didn't even know about Patrick Mahomes was going to be like this until he became Patrick Mahomes. And so Drake May might just be the next one. And that's it for We're the Harrises. Like, subscribe, wherever you guys get your podcasts. And we'll see you guys next week.